Hello there, and welcome to my review of deadmau5's new album. Now, saying it's new is kind of wrong. The thing is that the physical release came out a few weeks ago, but the actual album has been around for digital download since I believe December. But this is the physical album. There's not too much to say about the actual physical part. It's like you got this inside. Nothing to pull out, nothing to read, no real artwork, nothing like that. The only real difference between the physical copy and the digital download is that, well, you get the physical thing, which is nice, I guess, if that's what you're into. And I believe the remix of Strobe is on here. Other than that, not much difference, so. Basically, this album, what it is it's just his sort of, it's kind of weird, it's experimental. More experimental than While One is Lesson 2. But it's kind of more reminiscent of his old things where he just did whatever he wanted. He just kind of experimented with tons of different genres in the same album, and it works somehow. I don't think it's as good as his older albums. Perhaps it will grow on me, but right now I don't think it's as good. I'll talk about each song though. It's interesting to know that deadmau5 himself said he doesn't like this album as much as his previous works. He said it was kind of rushed. He liked a couple of songs on there, but generally he wasn't too impressed. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what to say about that. The community likes it from what I've seen, so I think most people are pretty satisfied with this album. So his opening track, Forwhere, is actually a really good one. I always thought that deadmau5's openings were always great. Didn't matter the album, didn't matter how bad it was. This one has a very, sort of more old-styley house feel to it, very progressive house. You'll really like this song, and I think it's a great start to the album. It might end up being so good that it actually makes the rest of it a little bit disappointing, because this really is a great opening track. I was really excited for the rest of the album once I heard this first song. So for the fourth track, Deus Ex Machina is another song I liked in this. It's very bass heavy. It feels a bit techno-y. I've heard a number of other people say they really like this one. It sounds a bit like his older stuff from 4x4=12, so if you go back and listen to that, it really is quite reminiscent of it, and it does a pretty good job. I actually think in some ways it's better than what he did before, mainly because of the experience, and if you're into sort of very bass heavy techno, which I kind of am, this is a great track, I think. So the sixth track, which I like, Imaginary Friends, is a bit more classic deadmau5 sounding. When I say classic deadmau5 sounding, I mean like this fade in intro where there's already bass line going on, all that stuff, and it's just fading into it, and it's very sort of progressive house feeling with sort of like random album title, and even album title goes here. That's what this song feels like. It feels a lot like album title goes here, and I think that's good because when I look back at that album, I like a lot of the stuff on the second half, a lot of the sort of house stuff, the vocal stuff at the beginning, I'm not a huge fan of anyway. The seventh track, Let Go, is a song that people really, really like. It features some good vocals. It's a very long song, and it also got quite popular, and people really like this one. I'm surprised whenever I look at lists that I see people, this one's not mentioned as much, but it has a great house rhythm going on, and it takes a long time to get to get very sort of exciting, but it's a really good track. I recommend listening to the whole thing. Yeah, classic deadmau5 feel, I'm not so sure. I guess so, but that's not what I thought about. I thought about just how great it sounded. The eighth track, No Problem, is a track I like a lot. Has a lot of energy in it, and there's a lot of transitions from high energy to low chill moments, and it does this a couple times, I believe. If you're into high energetic electronic sounds and music and sort of danciness, that's good. It doesn't sound very much like classic deadmau5 at all, but it's a good track. It keeps you focused, I guess, paying attention to music or something. But it's a pretty good track. If you're into sort of more danciness and less sort of the listening type, then I think you'll like this one a lot. Now, I have to talk about Snowcomb. This one's been getting a lot of attention. People like this one a lot, and I'm not quite sure why. It sounds kind of boring to me. It sounds like very un-deadmau5. I guess that's what people like about it, but I would say this whole album is very un-deadmau5 for a lot of it. So I'm not sure. I mean, people like this one. I kind of find it boring. You can go listen to it for yourself and think about what you want, but this is the standout of this album? I don't think so. I don't think this is the standout at all. I think there's much better tracks on here than that I would listen to anytime. So the 10th track, 3 Pound Chicken Wing, is a good track as well. Starts with high energy, just like No Problem. I don't think it's as good, but I do. This one does have progression, unlike the other one. It's quite good. It progresses high, and then right around the end, it kind of just falls down, but it keeps that sort of good house beat going. I don't think it's as good as No Problem. If you want like a dance track, I would say this one is better listening, and I don't think it's as good with its actual beats, but the progression's better. So the 11th track, Welk Then, is probably my favorite track on the album. It sounds very spacey, sort of like old electronic sounding, like Pioneer, like 70s. There's a nice piano sound, and it's very ambient, and anything like Old deadmau5, nothing. But it sounds really great. I would say the production quality and just the way it's produced is really incredible. I think everyone should go have a listen to this. It's completely, it's not dance music at all. It's just very, very well structured, very well sort of produced electronic music that sounds like very, very ambient, and has really good, like the sounds that are in there, like the piano sounds and all the ambience. It all fits together incredibly well. And yeah, that's probably my favorite song on the whole album. So the final track on this album is the Strobe remix. I don't really need to talk about this. It's just a remix of probably the best electronic song ever made, or electronic track. Just kind of swapped around a few of the places, maybe like added a beat, dropped a beat in some places. Differences, not a lot of differences. It's still a pretty good track. You can definitely hear the original Strobe in it. There's not too much change, not enough to make it bad. So this version of Strobe is just fine. I think it was appropriate to put it at the end of the album because, for lack of a better name, also had it at the end, so it was kind of appropriate. So my overall thoughts about this album are, I think the first half wasn't as good as the second half. I thought the second half was better. Obviously, excluding the intro, I thought the second half was definitely better. I've listened to it about 3 times now. It's not a lot, considering I've had it for about 2 weeks when it came out. It's not bad. I think it'll need to grow on me just like the other ones did. But I guess I could place it in a rating somewhere. I guess it's worth noting that the album is very short. It's about 68 minutes long. You'll get through it pretty quickly. I would say it's the shortest deadmau5 album. It might actually be longer than Get Scraped. I'm not quite sure at this moment. But in terms of length, it is quite short. I guess that's why deadmau5 feels it was rushed. But the thing about his albums is that they're good at, like, it's a sort of continuous mix, where you want to listen to it from start to end. He's really good at that, where you just start the album and you play the whole thing, and you just don't stop, because he somehow finds a way to make it flow, and it works really well. It should be noted that a few of the tracks on here kind of sound like they belong in his stuff. I think it was Stuff I Usually Do. It was this weird album that he released for free, I believe, and then there was also a version you could buy, full of old weird tracks from his like anthology album from like the late 90s. That there's a couple of there's a lot of similarities between the weird tracks that I find not so interesting in there. If you listen to both, I guess you'll see what I'm talking about, but I don't think I'll be reviewing that one. So, where would I place this album in all of his studio albums that he's made? This one's really difficult because over the last year and a half or so, I've started to really like his old things like Vexillology and Get Scraped. So, I'm not sure where to put this. It's kind of weird because there's like certain things about this, like the deadmau5 fan base. You have the people like the early stuff. I don't know if I'd include Random Album Title. Then you have the people like the middle stuff, so like Random Album Title to I guess album title goes here. And then you have the people that most like the Wild One is Lesson 2 and this one and whatever. I'm not sure. I like his older stuff, so this one's weird. I would expect myself to like this more because it is more experimental, but it's not as primitive as back then, and I don't know what I don't. It's really difficult to place this one. I think I'm gonna put it down lower. If I listen to it more, if it grows on me in like a year or two, and then of course I think I'll be placing it higher. But there are certain albums, obviously, I would put above it, especially Random Album Title. Like you can't beat Random Album Title. Like that's pretty much a flawless album in my opinion. A lot of people's opinion actually. So yeah, it's a decent album. If you like deadmau5, go and get it. If you like his old stuff, you might not like this as much. I guess that's just how it is. He's always making different music, and he doesn't really care much about his fan base, which I guess is good for him, right? He wants to do what he wants. I mean, why must he can't cater to everyone? But yeah, that's the review. Thanks for watching this video on his 2016 album, which is released in 2017 physically. And yeah, see you on a new video.